YouTube! Welcome back for another week of That Witch Podcast. I'm Danny, that witch next door. And with me this week, my very first guest ever on the pre-show tarot reading.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What an honor. I thought this was like one of your things.
Nope. Never.
Oh, I guess that shows I didn't watch the YouTube channel.
private club in YouTube. Yeah. Just kidding. But no.
Oh.
Kristy's the first one. Welcome.
Thanks.
To the neighborhood. That's what we say around here. I'm that witch next door. Get it?
Because it's a neighborhood.
It's quirky. Yep.
It's quirky.
You know I like a good pun. I do love a good pun. I like wordplay. Yes. Okay, so here's the fun part. I have done an astrological. I was like, wow, I cannot find the word. I have done an astrological reading.
What is she gonna say?
For Kristy before. A little bit of quick background. So Kristy and I grew up together. This is my childhood friend. Hello. There's no other significance here besides I like her a lot and you guys will like her too. Now, that being said, she's not a witch.
I am not a witch.
She doesn't read
I'm
tarot.
not a witch. No,
exactly.
Yeah, that's fair to say, right?
She could be in there. Yeah, I agree. Okay. She's not a witch. But she is very interested in all the spiritual side of things. So she lets me talk about my stuff a lot, which I always really appreciate. They let me do that. Yeah. And we've talked about doing a tarot reading for you lots of times. And we never, ever have time because we never stop talking.
It's just endless.
Constant talking.
Words.
So Kristy was born 2 weeks? Just under 2 weeks after me.
Yeah, just about.
So I was on October 30th, and she was born on November 11th. Everyone's going to be like, she was born on the 11/11 portal. That's a real thing.
That's a thing?
Yep. It's a good birthday. It's a good birthday.
Possible.
Yes. So, Gemini Mars. Scorpio. There's a lot of commonality here, so there's a lot of talking. There's a lot, hours, in fact, of talking.
We've actually already been talking an hour when this started.
Longer, really. Yeah.
At least
let's be honest. Yeah. Every single time, Jared, my husband, is like, how are you still talking to Kristy? How do you still have things to say?
How could you have not been done yet? It's been years.
He's like, I talk to my friend once a year.
That would be a long
Him and Billy talk to each other like once a year on their birthdays each. They're like already old men. They're like, this is my best friend. We talk once a year. And that's real friendship.
He's in my will. And all of it is going to him.
Godfather of my children.
And we talk one time a year.
Never trusted anyone more in my entire life. Now, if you couldn't tell, we really bring out the comedy, if you will, in each other. So, we're going to go ahead and preface this and say, it's Halloween weekend. We're coming at you with a very fun episode today. So strap in for the laughs. Oh, it got weird. Sorry.
Strap in?
Try it. I was going to call it like a laugh rocket, like blasting, and then I was like, that's getting weirder and weird. Yeah. That's how I felt. I was like, as soon as I went at rocket,
sounds
I was
awful
like,
lot like a red rocket. Which sounds awful lot.
That's exactly what I thought of. People. I was like, well, not a red rocket, but one that's laughter fueled. Okay.
It's alarming.
We're here to do Kristy's first ever tarot reading for the collective. It's not just
and when
for
you
for
sat
everybody.
me down that you were going to do this, I was assuming that it was for the people.
It is for the people.
Oh, so it's not
totally
specific
misspoke.
to me.
I didn't mean yeah, no. It's still for everybody. So
good.
You are still part of everybody though.
I am.
So you have to follow the instructions. So
one.
before the reading, as you all know, always sit, or if you're standing, wherever you are, try to evenly distribute your weight wherever you are. If you can have both feet on the ground, even better. And try and really root and connect. Everyone do the deep breath in. And out. And now I want you to open yourself up to any messages or insight or guidance that you are needing or seeking right now for your highest good. It was a close call, but it's a good one. It almost could have been the other way, and I would have been like, "Welcome to your first tarot reading: death, loss, and grief." We're getting
excited
into it today. Let's go. Okay, so what fell out pretty damn quickly here, folks, is the Three of Swords reversed. As always, I'm using the Deviant Moon Tarot deck by Patrick Valenza. It's linked in the description below. And the reason I was a little bit relieved to see this one come in upside down in particular is that when this card is right side up, as you can see, really depicts quite a gruesome, quite a gruesome scene, if you will.
A lot of bloodshed.
It's scary.
That looks like Game
That
of Thrones.
looks deadly.
That was on an episode of Game of Thrones.
It is?
No, I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Never seen it either. Oh, good. I was like, you
But I
could
imagine
have me fooled.
I'd like that. Okay.
This feels like Game of Thrones. Sorry, from two people. There's a bunch of people that are like, no, it
You're
is
both
not.
idiots.
Sorry. Listen,
Okay.
I was going to watch it. No, I'm going on the tangent. I was going to watch Game of
okay.
Thrones. No, we're riding this train. I was going to watch it. The reason I didn't is because of how angry everyone was after it ended.
Yeah, people were
Like,
pissed.
Like, angry. And so I was
not
like,
well at work.
should
like
I?
They were underperforming
Yes.
because of the show.
I was like, this feels unenjoyable, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Watching this emotional roller coaster. I already have issues.
Willingly get on
No.
this
And
ride.
I'm living on an emotional roller coaster. I don't need to
I don't need
add
another
twists
one
and
on top
turns.
of it.
No.
If it's gonna
So,
feel the same.
When this is upright and we get this image, clearly we're in for a little bit of a rough road ahead, or we've been already on a very rough road. This card represents heartbreak, grief, pain, loss. I mean, it is not an easy one. It is very, very dark. It's almost like Tower really gets the reputation for being the worst card. And remember, as always, we try not to think about them in best and worst. Try not to be superhuman judgmental at them or whatever. But I get it. But really, 3 of Swords really takes
Nobody
the cake, honestly.
wishes for that one.
No, this is almost as rough as 10 of Swords, which is essentially this same figure lying face down on the ground with 10 swords in their back. So it's a rough one. It's
At what point is another sword just like like when you have 5 swords, you're like, oh, 6?
Ah! As you keep walking.
Like,
Ah!
like after 4 swords.
Not
it might
every
as well
card
be 10
from
swords.
not every card from here to 10 has a person with another sword in their back. It's more of like a metaphor, I would in the story of the tarot.
Right.
But just so that you do know, it's not a suit of just stabbed people.
Oh,
I did
know
want to
that.
clear that up. Okay, good. I was like, I did want to clear it up. You don't think everyone's stabbed, right?
You don't think there's
You don't think
whole deck of people
just stabbed.
No, what I was saying is if you were a real human person, if you had 4 swords in your back, would you notice if someone put a 5th sword in your back?
At that point, no. You'd be like,
Exactly.
load them in. Who cares?
3, 10.
Oh my god. Now, when this card goes upside down, very important to remember, we live in a world with gravity. So if we turn this upside down, I always imagine those swords falling out, and this is a time of healing. This is why this was a really good omen to fall out of the deck. We've been through some shit. There are some battle scars, and could this not be more fitting after that Mercury retrograde we all fucking went through? Then it got slammed by that Aries full moon last week. It's been rough. We all have had some wounds the last month or so. I mean, it's been hard. And I have really been feeling this energy coming anyways. I've said it to a couple of clients recently, but a time of healing is upon us. I really, truly feel that. And then it was really cool to pull this card because that's exactly what 3 of Swords is, okay? Yay. This was awesome. How'd you like your first tarot reading? Nice? Hilarious.
Really?
She had no idea it was a comedy show.
No.
Just kidding. Usually we're very... Well, usually
That
you
was
guys are
very
like, Jesus.
insightful, though.
Thank you, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
great job. Very interesting.
Thank you so much. I really do love reading tarot. Okay,
Yes, you did.
now,
we should do it again.
today's episode, we are very excited. Christy did not want me to share any details. I gave her the topic and subject, and she was like, say no more.
I don't
Stop
want another
speaking.
hint about what this
I
could
want
be.
a giant surprise. So, she doesn't know any questions or anything I'm going to ask her.
Nope.
And I'm making some of them up anyways. So,
So if I did, you'd still pull the rug out from your
without further ado, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. You are in for a real treat. Trick or treat, knock knock.
Such
Here
a
we are.
poorly timed drink of my water that was.
It was interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Who is that sneaky little voice you hear? And if you're on YouTube, you can see exactly who that sneaky little voice belongs to. Everyone, welcome to That Witch Neighborhood. I'm That Witch Next Door. Today I have one of my oldest and very best friends ever and favorite people on the podcast. Onto the podcast. Onto the pod.
Onto the pod.
Welcome, Kristy G.
Kristy G.
Do you feel comfortable with that?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
They can know my last initial.
Is it G? Do you want me to drop the G? Or
Do not.
are you okay?
Is that
G.
Okay? do you like that letter? Or
So,
should I pick something else?
Kristy and I have been friends since we were 8 years
Yeah, that's
young.
about right. We were but
Very
that's
young, literally.
Yeah.
Children, some might say.
Some might have called us.
By definition, really. 3rd grade, Miss Faber's class. We got paired up for a project.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
We
You'll
were
never
mortal
forget
enemies
it.
before that, I think.
Correct.
Were we? Yeah.
We also both share a lot of the same, like, ironclad memory.
Yes.
So we can recall very specific memories from our childhood
From
still.
So long ago. You're like, you
Yes.
should have more information.
People don't remember us. We'll never forget them.
Yeah.
Ever.
And every time you let someone know that, it's a gamble. You're like, I could be sharing a story with you that you don't remember at all, and
Yes.
it's super important to me.
It's happened to me thousands of times. Thousands.
And you're like, I have to take this risk.
Yes.
Because
it was
if
a
you
great
had
story.
It, if you remember
The memory.
you'd want to
Trust me.
You'd want to hear this.
You're missing
again.
out. You
So I have to
wish
do
you
it.
could be there.
Yeah.
So, as you can tell, we're very excited. We're in a very fun, always mood because we were born 2 weeks apart. So, we have a lot of the same quirky little placements.
Oh, right.
Some of those quirky little quirks. And so, I thought it would be perfect to have Kristy on for my Halloween weekend episode because it's my birthday tomorrow and we're getting fun and we're getting weird. Mainly it's weird. We're just going to be weird.
As weird
As
we can
possible,
be.
paranormal. Again,
Depends what
as
you're
some
talking
may
about
call
that.
it.
Okay.
So, before we jump into everything, I do have a quick announcement that my spooky, amazing pop-up offer that I'm doing with my business coach, Kait, I've talked with you about Kait lots of times. You all just heard me do an episode with Kait last time. I am offering a pop-up collab with her called the Align and Attract Mini Coaching Series, where you are going to get a session with me, a session with Kait, then a collab with both of us, a breakdown, like a playbook essentially that we'll make for you afterwards. It's really, really exciting, and we're running a really hot special on it this weekend. So please make sure you go to the link in the bio to apply because it is a very limited container. This is a one-time only, like 2-3 week offer that we're going to be doing. So get over there now, and now.
Oh, it's beginning.
It's
I was
beginning.
gonna make a comment about what you just said.
Please do. That was the
that was
rewind.
We're now back to that moment. I know you told me about that before, but I don't think I realized what it was, and I was like,
Cool,
I felt like I was hearing it for the first time. And it sounds really cool.
Fresh, so you
Yeah.
got So what's your fresh reaction?
No, it sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
Kait and I have been working on it, and in some of our off time together, and just having so much fun doing it. And both of us multiple times were like, I really want this offer. This sounds like a really good idea. I'm going to be bringing my astrological knowledge to the table and really helping your business and your life feel aligned. Like helping you navigate where your soul's purpose is in your chart and stuff, and really aligning that with different like career strengths and stuff in your chart. And then Kait's going to really help get into your actual like sales strategy and stuff like that. And so between the two of us, we're going to come up with this really, really amazing action plan for you moving forward. It's going to be so, so cool. So take advantage of that. And happy Halloween. Merry Samhain, everybody. Have you ever heard of Samhain, Kristy?
No.
Samhain is the pagan name for Halloween.
Okay.
It has Celtic roots, and so it is what Halloween is based off of. It is the
okay.
old ancient Celtic holiday that modern Halloween is loosely based on. There are some of our similar little quirky things that we do that are kind of the same. Well, they're like, you can tell where they're birthed from. They're not the same at all. It's very, very different. So, jack-o'-lanterns, for example. That was something that you did as like an offering to spirits and to the gods.
Oh.
And so you'd carve these faces and they would represent either gods, or you'd carve certain expressions to either like maybe banish something or maybe welcome certain things. Do you see what I'm saying? And so they were used as like symbolic tools in that way, and then you would leave them out as like a sacrifice. So it's like taking a part of your harvest, because giving up some of your squash and pumpkins during that time and during that like time of history, during that time of year, that's a literal sacrifice. You really had to make sure you had enough food to make it through the winter. And squash is something that is one of the most hardy things that will last. So that's a real sacrifice when you're giving something like that up. And so that's where that comes from. And then later on, they became like lanterns and stuff, again, to kind of ward off evil spirits or whatever. And now it's become this tradition. So Christie's also a Scorpio. 11/11. We only told YouTube, right?
Yeah. We haven't told them.
I was like, I feel like we just talked about this. It was YouTube. Sorry, everybody. Christy was born on 11/11. So, and everyone's like, what? That's so cool. Again, we just talked about it on YouTube, though. Yeah. Christy had the whole surprise. You missed it. You really should go watch the pre-show tarot reading, actually, because she had a fresh reaction.
That was a thing.
Nope, exactly.
But I do know.
11 is a very magical number.
Okay. Yeah, I still don't know what it means. I just know it's a big deal. Not a big deal, but
it's a pretty big deal. No. No, it's not. No, it is.
Now, does anyone else feel a little bit of confusion after those statements?
Is it or is it not? Tell me you have a Gemini Mars without telling me you have a Gemini Mars. So, 11/11, if you're born on the day of a portal, I mean, keep in mind that it's really open for interpretation, but there's a lot of potential that you can tap into. I would think, having your solar return on the day of a portal opening. Sounds like opportunity to me. Okay, so we're talking about Halloween today. Essentially, I want to have a spooky episode because Kristy here, getting my head rest. Settling in. It's a nervous habit. I really mess around. Oh, Kristy's only ever listened to the episodes.
Yeah, I've never watched many.
She's never watched how wiggly I am. Nope, I'm all over the place. I move around a lot.
Okay, great. No, that's fine.
Total nervous
that actually
habit.
takes the pressure off me. I was trying to.
Oh, wiggle all the time.
Okay.
Nope, wiggle.
Wiggle all the time. Yeah, we wiggle
You
all
just wiggle it out.
Just wiggle all that out.
You're a kindergarten teacher. You just let those wiggles out.
And they're super animated because they're a kindergarten teacher. And
All right, everyone.
Those long dresses, remember those?
Yes, of
Long
course.
teacher dresses of the 90s.
Long teacher dresses of the 90s. Really transporting me.
That should have been your party theme.
Yes. So, last weekend we had our annual Halloween party, which was 90s theme, which was amazing, obviously.
How could it not be?
We've been doing a lot of time traveling, if you will. We already kind of do that together, I feel like.
That's a good point.
We really go into memory mode, and they are specific. Aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Vivid memories.
Oh, yeah.
So,
not everyone remembers things that way. Yeah.
No, not at all. Most people, especially by the time you get to our old age, you definitely start, I feel like, losing
the specifics.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
No, they're burned in my imagery. I can't unsee our childhood. No. It's very weird. Kind of sucks. Really a burden, if I'm being honest.
Except for the parts that I was there, right? Because those are.
Oh, I mean, just having that kind of a memory.
Oh,
it's kind of annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a lot to have just carrying around in there.
Yeah, you can't forget things.
No. So, in the spirit of the spirits, first of all, how's everybody feeling? moon is in Leo. Yep, moon is in Leo right now. It's Friday. It's October 29th. We just had a quarter moon yesterday in Leo. So yesterday may have felt like some tension, but I hope that you know that you worked through it, and now you can kind of tap into that Leo playful energy and let yourself have a fun weekend, whatever that means and feels good for you this year, okay? So I am going to put on my curiosity cap.
Oh man,
That
does
serious.
not come out often.
No.
That is a dusty hat.
And I'm going to ask Christy questions because I really do find these subjects fascinating, and I've noticed we've never, and again, we talk for hours.
Yeah.
But for the amount of hours that we do talk,
Yeah.
I don't think that we've ever really talked about this stuff. I don't think I've ever really asked for your opinions or experiences or what you know about anything to do with spirits, spirit work, spooky stuff. I know you don't watch scary movies, which, just so you know,
frightened.
Whenever I talk about, there's a difference when I'm talking about like spirit work and paranormal stuff and like death, witchcraft and stuff. And then I am a horror movie lover. I do love the genre of horror, but that would be on my podcast with my husband. Don't worry, I would never come in here and bomb all of you with that. It's intense. I get it. A lot of people you either love horror or you really, it's not your bag. And I know that Christy and I watched some, like, during our formidable years, watched a couple of the scariest movies we've ever seen together.
Yeah, The Ring.
Like, together at your house. Yeah, The Ring. Which, if you are a millennial and you saw that movie when it came out like we did, which was VHS, like we saw it, we rented it.
And we were 12 years old.
We were in 6th grade, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think is it PG-13?
It totally is.
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
I don't think my parents would have stood for anything else. They were real strict. Oh, my God.
It definitely wasn't R.
I don't think it's rated R.
We couldn't have taken that home.
And honestly, that movie...
My mom would be like, I don't think so.
Not that graphic.
No, it's just so
The closet
scary.
part. But overall, not that graphic.
Mm-hmm.
That closet part fucked me.
Mm.
The whole movie really ruined us.
Yeah.
I mean...
I was scared to go to bed for months.
Oh, it took a toll on me. I used to love getting scared when I was little, and this is like one of the first things I want to ask you. So my relationship with a lot of this stuff is I loved scary stuff.
Okay.
I always chalked it up to my birthday, which is funny because, like, astrologically that does also make sense. But I mean, because it's the day before Halloween. My mom is always like, you're a Halloween baby, that's why you love spooky things or whatever.
Oh, that makes sense, but really you just like spooky things.
Yes, and my grandma... Her birthday is 2 days after mine. Okay. She loved horror movies. Okay. She loved scary movies. And when I was really little, I was obsessed with learning about ghosts, reading scary stories, whether they were true or fake. Like, I loved scaring myself. I wanted to get scared. Tell me a little bit about how those things were for you.
Absolutely not. Let me be very clear about one thing. I hate
How did we watch it?
We watched it at a sleepover. It was you, me, Paige, and Erica.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the night.
Yeah.
But how did we...
We probably went to Hollywood Video. My mom probably brought us to Hollywood Video. And
we
which
probably
is a
had
Blockbuster
pizza.
Equivalent, just for those who were not clear on Hollywood Video.
Yeah, I don't know how big the franchise was or not.
I don't think
if
it was
you had
that big.
Hollywood Video. But it was up there with Blockbuster.
Okay, yeah.
If you were a loyal Hollywood Videoer, you were like, it's better than Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Chipotle.
I don't know why, because we didn't pay for anything. We were children.
They were literally the same movies.
Yes. Everything was the same. In fact, I think they converted our Hollywood
the color scheme that you
into Blockbuster.
Into the, like, if you like...
Probably.
Yeah.
One was purple. And then you had your classic blue and yellow. Yeah.
Anyway.
So sorry. But not... How was that flashback to Hollywood Video? Everyone's like, oh, I miss going to Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
I was never allowed to get candy.
Oh, yeah, because it was a ripoff. Your parents were like...
It's part of the experience. I just wanted it.
My parents were like, then we're going to go to Walgreens.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I mean, Okay, but it is
you
different.
have candy at home.
And it's the leftover from a year ago's Halloween.
Like, great. I'll
so
have
it's Jolly
Easter
Ranchers
egg in November. Perfect. Can't wait. Okay, so to answer your question, no, I did not like being scared. I think we ended up watching that movie because that's where we were. We were at Hollywood Video. And you and Erica probably wanted to, and Paige and I are just silent and like, all right, I guess we got to do it.
We're in it.
Yeah,
we probably made you guys do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because we
Erica also was like spooky.
Yeah, and Paige and I were just like, we don't have a mind of our own. I guess
one day we'll put all three of us on the podcast. You'll be in for such a treat. It would be a roller coaster of laughs. Now,
so
she did used to get spooky. You're
right. That's how we ended
up
watching it. But generally, I would have never rented a scary movie.
Did you ever watch any before that?
I don't think so. Like, not to that scariness extent. I think maybe, like, I don't know what it would have been. Like, I didn't see The Sixth Sense when it came out. I didn't see, like, any of those.
I wasn't allowed to see Sixth Sense. I was really mad because everyone talked about it, and I wanted to see Scream. And I wasn't allowed to see Scream, and I was really pissed.
I for sure didn't.
There was a lot I wasn't allowed because it couldn't be R. But there was a decent amount of good horror movies and scary movies during our time that were PG-13. Mm-hmm. So I was able to see a lot.
But I think, I don't think I was allowed to watch them until, I think, middle school. There was a phase where I watched them on, like, dates because the boy wanted to watch scary movies. So that's probably when I saw The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Dates.
Yeah, and you were like, I guess I'm watching this.
It'd be like 5... Oh,
and you have to
like
sit with your arm around the other person, and your neck hurts.
And you're
the whole
sweating,
time.
and you're so uncomfortable. Your
hands
palms
are, like, sweating together, and there's just a pool of sweat.
Constant pressure. You know they're gonna kiss you at some point. What will happen? What will it be like? You know what I mean? There's so much pressure. Yes. God damn it.
Who knows?
Fuck middle school.
Anyway, so there's your answer.
So here's what's hilarious: is I had the opposite experience. Started out by scaring myself, loving getting scared. Mm-mm. I am not kidding you when I tell you how bad The Ring fucked me up. Yeah. And I, like, swore off horror for probably 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. You can't see me, but YouTube can, and it's funny. Yeah, the last thing I had watched was The Ring in 6th grade. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing I watched was Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2005.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it really... And I struggled, and this is my next question. I struggled so badly with nightmares. Like, vivid nightmares and bad dreams. Did you... I know this answer, actually, as soon as it's about to come out of my mouth.
I don't remember this.
I was going to say, did you ever have trouble sleeping or anything? But no. I feel like you slept very well and often. I felt like you went to bed early and got up early.
Where is she going with this?
As soon as I was about to ask you.
I had trouble sleeping.
You did?
Yes.
What kind of nightmares? Bad? Of course.
I think I had...
Or were they good?
I couldn't fall asleep. Once I was asleep, I would be okay, but I would be so terrified to fall asleep.
Oh, so you did also struggle here.
Yes, in falling asleep. Like, once I was out, I didn't have nightmares, but, like, what I would create in my head before I went to bed would keep me up at night.
And that's without scaring yourself and watching a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Well, when I did, that's what would happen for so long. I was like, I can't do this.
Do you remember when Saw came out?
Yes. And I remember seeing the first one being like, this is bad. I don't like this. And then I saw this like, this whole thing is bad. And then the second one I felt that way. And I think it was the third one when I was watching it and I literally threw up in my mouth.
You did?
Yeah. And I was like, I don't need to do this.
It's like, what am I doing?
This is not for you. Like, it's okay. But this is not your thing.
I love that part about being like getting older when it's like I'm gonna just stop. I get zero joy. I'm physically ill.
You just threw up at the Old Town fucking movie theater. You don't have to choose this life.
Oh my god.
It's unnecessary.
I had the opposite effect. I lost my fear the more that I watched them and the more that I was able to separate like reality from non-reality and just enjoy the feeling of getting scared again like when I was a little kid. And so when I was a freshman, I like fell in love with it and just became obsessed with watching horror movies. High school?
Oh, okay.
My boyfriend at the time. I'm gonna spare everyone the names. It's hard because I almost was like blurted it out to you. Yeah, we have to be respectful of privacy. Scorpio season after all. Privacy matters. Real important. Yeah, we're all over the place with the audio here. There we go. Sorry. Okay.
Has mine been okay? Because I know
you sound great.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So now. That was my I know I just said we wouldn't talk about horror movies. I'm really sorry. We just went over my entire background of horror. But now I want to talk about scary stuff. That's not nice. I want to talk about spirits. I don't want to preface it by calling it scary. I'm just excited that it's Halloween and I want to be scared. But I really am sorry. I'm not. Spirit work, I'm being dead serious. Spirit work, working with ghosts, working with the paranormal is not inherently scary. That is a stigma. We are conditioned to believe that in media and Hollywood specifically, obviously. But, and then on top of that, because there's been so much fear mongering around the veil and the other side of the veil and spirit work that, you know, our parents and their parents really grew up with this deep fear and it was put on a lot of us. Then some of us, like me, got older and kept finding themselves getting drawn back again and again, or having these experiences and getting old enough to be like, someone can't just keep telling me this is in my head. Like, at a certain point, this is an experience happening to me. And if you think that you have some mediumship type gifts, if you feel like you've had interactions with the other side of the veil, but maybe not necessarily identify or feel like you're a full-blown medium necessarily, and anywhere in between on that spectrum, I almost guarantee you're probably correct. There are several times that there are very logical explanations around the house. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that spirits don't work in the ways that Hollywood says that they do. So I feel like people try and use Hollywood to debunk very real claims from people. I'm going to basically phrase it through a personal example. So I would have an experience and tell somebody like my mom or dad, and they would be like, oh, it was probably just this or this.
And you're saying...
And later on, when I learned about spirits and how they operated, I was like, I was correct.
Okay.
I was correct. The only reason they were like, no, it was this X, Y, or Z is because they saw that in a movie, or their parents told them that's how it worked, or, you know what I mean? It doesn't come from a place of study. That's what I mean. It doesn't come from a place of, like, educating yourself about paranormal activity, not the movie. That was an accident and hilarious. But seriously, it's like advice that's only coming from a place of fear because they're scared that you're telling them that. And that was my experience is I had things happen since I was young, and whether it was my parents or like peers, I would have people just like, that didn't happen to you.
Oh, okay.
And so I just stopped telling people when stuff like that would happen. And then eventually blocked those capabilities and like openings for a long, long time. They reopened again without me realizing it when I was a senior in high school, which we're going to talk about. I'm going to share my ghost story with you. We're gonna tell some stories. We're getting spoopy. No. I really wish I could do.
It just looks like.
It just looks like
the tentacles.
Awkward. I was like a crab, but yeah, tentacles work too. Get over to YouTube if you're wondering how we're dancing. No, it's very important if you need to know.
You may never know a true tentacle until you head over to YouTube.
Never. Okay. Abilities kind of opened up again senior year or so. And in hindsight, now knowing what I know, I realize now why those abilities opened up, because I was getting really into this stuff again at that time. I was like, it's 2008. The internet is fresh and alive. Google is open. All for well, we're in Google.
Okay.
Jeeves is definitely dead at this point. I'm like 17 or 18 at this
Jeeves
point.
Died
yeah. I'm wearing Volcom. Does that help? Yep.
I can see it.
My hair is dyed jet black underneath and light blonde on top.
Oh, and this is senior year?
Yep.
Oh.
Exactly. Okay. Everyone's like, I'm sorry, what? Correct. Correct. Head to toe, PacSun. Or I bought it like knockoff or at the consignment. But it was from PacSun at some point.
It began there.
It began its journey at PacSun. And listen, you had to defend yourself that way. That's why I know what clothing I was wearing.
Yeah.
Because I was prepared with an answer. There's always an explanation.
Oh my god.
Okay. At that time, I really did get into that stuff again because I would babysit a lot because I would get grounded a lot for having missing assignments.
Oh yeah, you did. That happened a lot.
Yeah, and I would stay up until like 2 o'clock in the morning on the computer.
Yeah.
Just like falling down rabbit holes about
you just do that. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, and sometimes I'd come and talk about it and stuff.
But that's why you said the thing about sleeping, because I never did that.
Never did what?
Like, would stay up late looking at shit. I was always trying
Correct.
to go
That's
to
what I mean.
Yeah,
you are right. That's what I meant by you're a good sleeper.
Yeah, like,
yes.
No, this
you wanted to go to bed. Yeah. No, I have
doing this
always been a night owl. Yes.
No, I am not.
Oh, I totally forgot to tell everybody Christie's big three, which is Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, and Capricorn rising. So I bet everybody's like, oh, I can see where the commonalities, right? Because the Gemini Mars situation, but very different moon signs and rising signs. That's why as soon as everyone hears Virgo and Capricorn, they'll be like, she likes to go to bed. She goes to bed on time.
Like, what is
very practical,
what are you trying to say?
Very responsible.
Oh yeah,
placement.
Very structured.
Yes, energy. Yes, very structured. Yes,
it is
a real problem solver.
Oh yeah,
and that would create a problem.
A real problem. I'm like, yeah,
it would create a problem. See, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like, how far can I push it until I want to die from lack of sleep?
Yeah.
I could do it. I'll be fine. Or I'm just not going to go to first period, obviously. That was usually because I had art, first of all, in my defense. I had purposefully taken an extra credit so that I could have an extra off period when I was a senior. I did it when I was a freshman. Talk about that for foresight, by the way. I purposefully took an extra gym credit of all fucking things so that I wouldn't have to take an extra.
Really?
Yeah, and then my counselor made me. She was like, you're not allowed to have more than 2 off blocks. And I was like, God damn it, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so by the time she made me fill the slot, all the other electives were filled.
Yeah.
And I had a 7 a.m. slot available for painting.
Oh.
Painting and drawing.
Yeah.
And actually I did. I got my stuff showcased in the showcase a lot. Isn't that weird?
She's like, it was terrible. I was really good at it.
Oh, the teacher hated me so much because I hated going. And then I would do
the
work really good. Not like in an artistic... The things I would get noted for were like I had to draw a house and I drew the whole thing with a ruler and a picture. I'm very good at replicating.
Oh, okay.
For the most part. With a ruler. There's no... This hand can't do... You saw the tentacles. There's no smooth, fluid... Look at that. That doesn't draw things. But give me a ruler and hard lines to draw and I'm going to be one of the best in the entire class because I'm very like type A and I like symmetry, so we had to draw Victorian houses.
Oh,
listen, this is the episode that you're getting. You're learning a lot about me today. You're getting to know baby Danny in high school, who was already so anti-system.
What a waste, because it was a disaster.
Christy and I were really close. We were in the same toxic friend group.
Yes.
That was horrible to each other. Many times. Many friend groups.
But, like, it was Unfortunately, it's a classic group of girls.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, I'm very feminist, but that is
it was
100%.
It's what you're thinking.
A group of girls was our friendship.
Very, very mean to each other, leaving each other out. Locking yourself in the bathroom at your birthday party. Oh, we had a blast. Well, at the same birthday party, you'd make up a dance. Yeah. You'd be hot and cold all night. You never knew where you stood. You could be best friends. You could be enemies. Yeah. At any given moment. Christy and I always were consistent because we can't stop acting like this around each other.
There is not a lot of room for conflict.
Since the moment we met.
Ends here. Very few places to go.
Sometimes we have serious conversations.
That's true. Very.
No one ever witnesses them. Yeah.
No,
we cry together. Yeah, of course. We've known each other since we were 8 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, something happens. It's like a chemical exchange where it's like, oh, I can be my real self.
Yeah. Oh, you get.
Oh, like the dork, like she can come out. Like she doesn't have to be in the cage. She doesn't have to get shamed. Like I can be like, come on, she's here.
It's fine. The water's fine.
That's exactly. And the rest of the time, it's like, keep it together.
Yeah. There are expectations.
Yes.
And you are gonna.
There's bumpers on your lane here.
Let's keep it between the ditches. That's what my dad says.
Keep it what?
Keep it between the ditches. That's what he tells me. All right, Christy, now keep it between the ditches.
Great advice from D-Man.
Keep your shit together.
I like
When you're out there, keep it together. And I try.
That is such classic advice of his, too. Keep it between the ditches, Christy. He'll say nothing else outside of that. No. Just to give you concept.
And when I say this, I mean, it's just, no, and it's serious.
It's just a vague, cryptic message from father to daughter.
We know the type.
Exactly.
You should.
You also know the type we're talking about. Exactly. Were you born between the years of 1988 and 1996?
You might have this dad. This might be your dad.
Did your dad have a swooshy football coat of his favorite football team? They all had it. And they were all different teams, but they all had a giant, oversized, swishy.
Did he have, like, really big sneakers?
Just yes, and tall socks.
Sneakers.
Thick. Thick socks.
Funny. I just bought my dad a pair of those, like, 2 days ago for his late
socks or sneakers?
The big Reebok high top sneakers. Because there was still.
They're never going out of style.
And his wife is like,
oh my god,
please don't bring another pair of those shoes in my house. And I do it anyway.
Did you? Okay. Did anything scary ever happen?
I've hallucinated a couple times and people are like, that's a mental illness.
What do you mean? No. Take us through it.
Like, there have been a couple times where I've, like, heard someone's, like, voice talking to me, like a sleepover, and I don't know what it is. But it's, like, actually, it's my brother's voice saying.
What?
I know, isn't that weird?
Nope, we're gonna need you to elaborate. No, it is weird. I'm glad about that. And that's why I'm saying, yep,
is
let's
this a real
dive
thing?
in. It sounds really interesting. That's why I
But it was just his voice. So there was, like, 2 times. Well,
what kind of sleepovers? How old were you?
It was Brooke.
I don't know why I said that part.
What kind of sleepover?
I meant to say how old were you?
It was Brooke, and I think it was probably, I was 8 or 9, I think. Okay. The first time. And, like, we were sleeping in my downstairs guest room. Remember that room?
Yep.
And my brother's room was all the way, up the stairs. There was no way that I could hear his voice from there.
Right.
But, like, I was hearing it like it was right next to me. Like, I thought I was hearing his voice. Talking about Pokemon cards and, like, haunting me about them. But he wasn't there.
What do you mean?
Like, he was talking to me
about Pokemon cards?
But, like, that I did something wrong. He was, like, yelling at me about it. And I couldn't...
And you were awake.
Yes. And I knew, like, but I could logically be like, I know he's not here. But I couldn't, like, turn his voice off.
Would it ever happen? Would he get mad at you about the Pokemon
Yeah, we had a
cards?
huge Pokemon card fight.
Of course we did. That morning. The very next day.
There's
tons of them.
We are having one right now.
It never ended.
He called me yesterday.
It was called the Great Pokemon War.
And
about Squirtle.
Battles.
Oh my
Do you
God.
know? Because of Pokemon battles. But I don't think that was a witch story. I think that was just like, I don't know.
Well, no, that's definitely like psychic ether stuff. That's
really?
Definitely, yeah, of course.
I didn't know
It
that.
sounds more like to me like you got a little preview. That's called clairaudience.
Oh.
It sounds like you got a little sound bite of what was going to come.
Okay.
Which was Dan getting mad at you about the Pokemon cards.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're
That's why I asked if it ever happened. You're like, absolutely, definitely. He's under a lot of pressure about the Pokemon cards.
Yeah. I wonder when it was in relation to our biggest Pokemon card.
So I've never, once in a blue moon, I'll get a clairaudient message.
Okay.
Not my favorite. If you are clairaudient, bless you.
And that's when you get the future?
Well, so, I want to teach you a little bit about time. We don't necessarily know how time works. We know our concept of time, which is linear.
Mm-hmm.
It is very likely that that's just the method that is easiest for us to cope with, because it's probably so much more complex than that. So know that nobody has the answer. But the future isn't necessarily in this linear way, the way that we think that it is.
Okay.
There are alternate things happening. I've been trying to even call them other lives instead of past lives as much recently. Because there is this past nature and this future nature. There is some forward and where you've come from motion and like somewhere you've been. But at the same time, it's also not linear in this human concept, like the way that we think about it. So when you get messages, it could happen in what we call like the future, but it could be, we also have free will and like control over every moment. So sometimes things come to pass and sometimes things don't come to pass. But that doesn't mean that you aren't legit or that you don't even have to consider yourself to like have special abilities to receive messages. Everybody receives messages. Everybody has prophetic dreams. We all are tapped into the same network, if you will. But some of us figure it out and try to strengthen it. Meanwhile, others, it's like they'll get little snippets of messages and be like, so like the little shadows that you see out of the corner of your eye and stuff like that. That's something that I was always raised, like your eyes are playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
And, of course, if you go in and dig into, if you try to debunk something, you're probably going to just be able to. If you just don't want to believe in something, you'll be successful. So, of course, no matter what we ever talk about on the show, you can always go online and find something that's going to tell you it's bullshit. That's fine. It's really more about what resonates with you specifically. But, okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened to me.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second half of the spooky episode. I'm still your host, Danny. This is still Christy. And, it's been a couple days. You don't know this, but we really got cut off last time.
Yeah. We
really let the stories get away from us, right? Time, that's what happens, old friends.
It's true.
Old friends.
Old friends. It was a lot of tangents. A lot of sidebars.
Important information.
Will be very annoying to edit.
Probably.
But that's okay.
It is. Because we're back. We're very calm and collected, as you can tell. Very focused. Because we are here to share with you. Well, I'm here to share with you. And Christy, for the first time, my ghost story. I have a few, but I'm going to share my main one.
Okay.
If you know me from high school, you might have known this story. This was senior year, though. We weren't really chatting at the time. When you have old friends like that, you know what I mean?
You take like a break that you don't talk about.
Quite a sabbatical.
Yes, sabbatical, exactly. There was no, what's the word, ensuing incident? That's not what it is.
I don't remember there being a specific incident.
No, that's
I agree. Yeah,
I agree.
Eventually,
you feel like your lockers aren't in the same hallway anymore.
Make
new
you have
friends.
Different classes.
Yes. And then it's not intentional.
You hang out in different places in the lobby and...
a different lunch block.
See, it happens.
Over.
Yeah. It's all over. You're done.
Basically enemies.
And so Christy doesn't know this story, even though she did know me from high school. So there's my edit right there already. Okay. So at this time, I was 17 or 18 years old, and I had just started really getting into paranormal stuff again since childhood. And I do actually think it was kind of like the stuff we talked about earlier on the first half, because I had started getting into horror movies and stuff again.
That's right, yeah.
And so I remember researching paganism and like people that practice Wicca, and I would look up paranormal stories. Some of my favorite things to read are like the lists online about like creepy things that like 3 to 5 year olds say, about their past lives and stuff like that. I find that stuff so fascinating. And I didn't realize it, but I had really started opening myself back up to being aware of all of these energies. And so one day my mom and dad and sister were at a funeral for a mom that had passed away from my sister's school. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've always found that hard to say. It was, the little girl was in her class, so we knew her. It was really, really sad. And it was unexpected, which we'll come back to later. But it was unexpected. She was in remission for a while, and then cancer came back really hard and really, really fast. It was so sad. And so it's probably 10 or 10:30 in the morning, and I'm still asleep, of course.
Oh, this is in the morning.
Yes, even creepier.
Plot twist. Okay.
This is all happening in the broad daylight. Yes, that's a very good note to mention. I'm glad you.
10:30 in the morning, you're awaking from.
I'm 17, so I'm awaking from the dead sleep, right? Mm-hmm. Because I probably went to bed at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I'm you're like, I never would do that, but.
I don't think I ever have. That's not.
I used to do that way too often. Anyway, and because I was like, well, I'll just sleep till noon. Boom.
Yeah, but
8 hours.
Solid 8 hours.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
8, yeah.
Well, the problem is if you're.
It's a terrible problem. You're exactly.
Well,
right.
I just can't sleep past 8 o'clock. So like, no matter when.
That's true. That's true.
Part of my issue. But this isn't about me. So
Sorry.
Here we are.
So, my family dog at the time, came downstairs and woke me up. In my room was in the basement, and I went upstairs to let her out because I thought that's why she came and woke me up. And for sake of the story, I was just wearing like underwear and a big t-shirt. I didn't have any pockets on her, nothing like that, okay? And so I go upstairs to let her outside, and she is just being so weird and will not go outside. But I'm not registering that she's being weird. And I just, roll it off or whatever. I go to the bathroom on the main floor to go pee really quick before I go back downstairs to go to bed. And right when I went in the bathroom, a nickel fell on the floor by my feet. And I thought nothing about it. I just picked it up, I put it on the counter, I peed, I went back downstairs. Well, as soon as my feet hit the very bottom floor of the basement, a nickel fell on my foot again. And that's when I was like, and someone's in my house throwing coins at me. Which is ridiculous, but that is instant. I was like, someone's in here, intruder.
Yeah.
Like, that's the space that I'm in. I fly and put clothes on, and I went upstairs to get my dog, and she was on the very, very top floor. And my parents' room and my sister's room are on opposite sides of the floor from each other. So there's a big long hallway, remember? Uh-huh. And so she's back at my sister's room around the corner, so I can't see her. And I'm at the stairs right by my parents' bedroom opening.
Right. So you went up the stairs at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You're up there. Okay.
I'm almost to the top, and I'm calling her, and I see her finally come back from around the corner, just staring up at the ceiling, following something, like following after it, not looking at me at all. And then just stops in front of my parents' bedroom doorway and just stares up at the top of the doorway. And I remember out loud going, and you're on your own. I gotta go. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? So, I leave. I go pick up my idiot boyfriend at the time. I'm gonna just say that. And nothing else about identity. Correct. Yes.
Okay.
But idiot is a fair identity. So.
Is it just good?
Good name. Really great. Yes.
Yeah.
I go pick him up. I definitely don't think he's an idiot at the time. Just to make
I didn't think about
that perfectly clear. At the time, really think he's a swell guy.
Yeah.
So that's why I pick him up. And I'm really confused. I don't know what I think.
You, left the house because of this incident.
Yeah.
And you're like, here's who's going to help.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so they bring him back to the house to search the house because I'm like, listen, this is what happened. Oh, I meant to tell you that when I left, the nickel at the bottom of the stairs was gone.
Oh.
It was
the
gone.
Second nickel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Never went back to the bathroom, ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I never knew if that one was in the bathroom still. That one fell by my feet, and then I just set it on the counter.
Okay.
And then another one had been by my foot at the bottom of the stairs. And that one, I ran, remember, to my room, got dressed. On my way back to go upstairs, it was gone. And I was like, fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
And I leave, I pick him up, I tell him the story. He is really not
skeptical,
kind about it. Right, again, the idiot part. So, but I'm like, I'm 17, okay? And so he comes back to the house and walks around with a fucking, almost a chicken knife, but I meant a kitchen knife.
Chicken.
I used it for chicken.
I'm just trying to figure out who this guy is. You don't obviously don't tell me, but I'm just running through them in my head, being like, which one could it be?
It's not a good one.
They never.
Are they really? Yeah, exactly. There's a couple. Okay.
That's a different episode.
That's a whole different episode. That's going to be a bonus episode. Okay. So I pick him up. He's not great. He searches the house with the kitchen knife.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, we were upstairs, and I remember, and it was winter, by the way, so we were wearing our snowboarding jackets, and I had gotten emotional, and he gave me a hug, around the top of my head, so I couldn't hear anything because his jacket was around me, and all of a sudden, he, drops his arms, and, he's listening for something, and I was like, obviously, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? Nothing, and would not, and then he's like, there's nothing there, so it's nothing, and so whatever. Finally, we don't find anything. The nickels are gone. They're not in the bathroom. It's not at the bottom of the stairs. He clearly doesn't believe me. And my parents get home from the funeral. They are not giving me the time of day. My mom was always too scared to listen to stories like this because she was like, this is my own house, and I'm terrified of
I don't
that.
want to be haunted.
Yes. And my dad at first was kind of just writing me off. Yeah. Well, I go downstairs. I have to go to work this day. This is all happening on a Saturday. And I have to go to work at noon or 1 or whatever it is. And I go downstairs and my boyfriend was still there. And before I went to go take a shower and get ready, I was like, seriously, what did you hear when we were standing upstairs?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my God, I just thought that I heard somebody cough downstairs. That's all. Clearly, nobody was there, so I didn't. And I'm like, well, it probably was a fucking,
Yeah.
It was probably you probably heard it. So I go back in my room. I go to grab this is a lovely 17-year-old trait. I go to grab my towel off the floor.
Oh, gross.
And a fucking nickel falls out of the towel.
Out of the towel?
Flew out and fell on the floor.
My God.
How would that be in my shower towel? My gross, nasty shower towel that was on the floor.
That.
Do you see what I'm saying? That makes no. So, when I finally did tell the story to my dad, when I told my coworkers at work that day, everybody's like, there's no way that that's possible. And I'm like, I'm telling you, this whole thing happened in broad daylight. This was not nickel already on the floor. This landed. This I thought at first that there was a human person perfectly aiming.
This one's really gonna get her.
Tossing a nickel. No.
I wanted you to enter
What?
your house and there was just a sack of nickels and you're like,
oh my God, that'd be hilarious. So the guy, one of the guys that I work with at the time, ends up telling me, he's like, he's the only one that believes me. And he's like, I really think that it was a spirit. And he opens up to me and tells me that he's a medium, his mom is, his son is, he doesn't practice, but he starts telling me all these different things that I can do if I feel like investigating the house or whatever. And this is 2008. So we all had digital cameras. And he's like, just walking around with the flash on and take pictures all around your house. That's a good idea. And I never ended up doing that. I was always too afraid to do it. I never ended up doing it. And I kind of left it. This is winter, and I leave it. Well, that summer, I am working at summer camp, okay? Yes, I'm at Seacrest. And the year before that, I had known somebody else who passed away, who was one of my longtime co-workers and a mentor of mine. And he was a counselor while I was a camper at that camp.
Oh, and he passed
away? I ended up working with him, and then he passed away from cirrhosis. So, yeah, it was really sad. And so, very unexpected. Had no idea. He was only 35. It was, that was the summer before. Well, this summer, that's happening, I'm obsessed with ghost stories. And I am notorious for telling the kids at the camp scary stories. I got in trouble, actually. I had to apologize to a couple parents because they had nightmares. Yeah. I was really good at making them up, which is a bad thing. But they were good. And maybe one day I'll write them again for adults who are allowed to read them.
Who would make a conscious choice.
I had to totally apologize. It was terrible. So, of me, but also terrible inside to have to do.
Yeah, to face a parent.
Yes, I was a teenager. It sucked. It was a total idiot thing to do. Anyways, so, because don't you remember us doing that? Don't you remember telling each other all those scary stories in elementary school?
Yeah, my mom had the scary, what was it, the scary stories book?
Yes, scary stories to tell in the dark. We had, we used to we would all sit around on the playground. Remember, we'd play Bloody Mary.
And we did the Ouija board.
Yes, we did. Erica had a Ouija board. We did light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yeah, just conjuring things.
Yes.
At any opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I was a dumb teenager, I was like, kids already do this.
They love this.
Who knows? That was probably just me and my weird friends, but I was like, all children do this. Let me gift you with these terrifying tales. No. So that summer, at one point, one of the other counselors, who was another longtime counselor, had overheard me, and we get into this whole conversation of swapping experiences. So instead of talking about ghost stories, we're talking about experiences. And I was like, you have to hear what happened to me over winter break. And I tell her the whole entire story. And I shit you not, this is why this is also important. She's like, they were nickels? And I was like, yes. She goes, did you ever look up what that means? And I was like, no, I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
I knew the nickel was significant, but we used to play cards with my grandma all the time. And we would bet money, which was like pennies and nickels.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I found out it was a spirit, I just assumed it was my grandma because I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to sense anybody. Well, she tells me that when our friend passed away the year before, that his mom had worked at a local elementary school and had all of these experiences finding dimes everywhere.
Oh.
At one point, she's in this old storage closet. Like, remember the old storage closets where there'd be, like, books? Like, they keep all the giant sets of chapter books and stuff like that. It was just a big book storage closet. And she's in there sorting books. And she picks up a stack of books that's been there forever. And there's, like, 6 dimes flat in between these books. One day at her house, her grandkids come running in. Grandma, there's dimes everywhere. And there's a fucking trail of them. Trail leading into the house. There was another one leading into his sister's tent, camping out in the fucking woods. She goes, so we all looked it up for her, and they are very often tokens from spirits passing that died of like really unexpected death.
Oh, okay.
And they're reaching out, and so sometimes I think that souls know where to go. But I think that we have been so conditioned to believe, like, we're not special, so the spirit would never visit us. Why would it? Do you see what I'm saying? And so that's why I was like, oh, well, I'm sure it was my grandma. Well, when my coworker was sitting here telling me this unexpected death thing, I was like, who? What? Yeah. And I think it was the mom that my parents were at the funeral for that morning.
Okay.
Because she had died within like 3 weeks. I mean, out of absolutely nowhere. And I don't know if it was just because I had been like crazy opening myself back up. Weird stuff happened in that basement the whole time that we lived there. And now that I'm older and she's a little bit more brave about it, my mom finally opened up and told me some of her stories about that house too.
Okay.
But that was a new house, if you remember. We had that house built.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that, but I remember it was
new. I mean...
On that little cul-de-sac, there's just like 2 houses.
I have a lot of theories about Arvada. I think that Arvada is on some weird land.
That's accurate.
Any of you that are local...
So sorry.
Any of you that are local, you can look into and like search on Google like Arvada's paranormal history, Arvada, Colorado.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And there was I can't remember what it was exactly called. It is called Ridge Home. That's right. You might have already heard of it. This only got shut down in the 90s.
Oh.
Like 92 or something like that.
Building got
Guess
shut
where
down?
it was?
Where?
Super Target on 52nd and Kipling.
What?
Yes.
Oh my god, I was just there.
And Target employees report all kinds of stuff.
What?
Yes, it's really fascinating. So
wow.
If you lived in the area and you went to high school at Arvada or A West or anything, because RV obviously wasn't around at the time. It was a rite of passage to break into the old abandoned hospital, and I found all of this on a Facebook group page. Okay. For like our community, like our neighborhood. Yeah. And it's kind of like Nextdoor, but it's on Facebook, like a group. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a terrible group. I hate it a lot, but it's very useful. It's drama. There's a lot of drama. There's too many people in it, and it's terrible. We live in a real swing state, and so...
You're right.
It's crazy.
I just didn't think that's where this was going. I was like, can politics stay out of anything?
No.
Like, can't we just talk about
you should have
stories?
seen it on the Ghost Story. Oh, no, politics were on the Ghost Story post, too.
What?
Yeah, everyone really argues. It's a lot. But that's why I hate the group.
So
it's mostly because it's a very useful group, but it's hard for it to be useful because everyone's arguing all the time. But I was reading, when you really comb through the stupid comments and get rid of them, you're really getting through there. YouTube, do you like this? I was reading some of the stories from people that were like our parents' age that went to Arvada High School and stuff like that, that broke in there. And people are like, there were no cages in the basement. I don't know what you're talking about. And like 4 people are like, yes, there were. We broke in the basement. There really were cages down there. It is crazy. If you ever watched the documentary on Netflix, like Crosby? I think it's Cropsey. It's a similar one, I think, in Staten Island. This used to happen. It was really common where they would cut funding for hospitals like that. And the hospital had this long, dark history, too, of how patients were treated and stuff like that.
I mean, it's... what they were doing back then.
Right. It's really fascinating. But the more that I do dig into Arvada's history, the more I do think that, and honestly, if you're from here, it starts making a lot of sense, I think. I think it's weird that none of us move very far, and I feel like we always come back. Oh. Most people I've ever talked to, it's so weird that we all stay friends and stay in contact as much as we do than other, because it's not a small town,
yeah, my 3 closest friends are all from Arvada.
Yep. And that's like weird. Like, I had a therapist one time that was like, what? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, well.
You're like, easy with the judgment, Brenda.
Yeah, she was a real judgy one. She was at the end. She really should have been holding herself accountable. You know what I mean? Call it quits. Yeah. Let's. It's okay.
Pass the torch on to somebody else.
No, yes.
Well, that's interesting. You'll have to tell me more about this another time.
You guys should look into it. But it's really, really fascinating. So I mostly want all of you to know that all of this stuff, like, it doesn't have to be this studying the paranormal, talking about spirit work. It's not evil, and it's not going to get you into trouble, and a Ouija board's not going to get you into, it's not, that's just not how this stuff works. I really, really encourage you that if you are interested at all in actual, real, legitimate spirit work, that you start studying it. And you start first with learning the basics, like cleansing and protecting yourself and your space. And then you just study what are the different ways that you can communicate with spirits, and what are the different experiences that other people have that are death witches or are spirit workers. There's a lot. So death witches do anything from communicating with the dead for the same reasons I use astrology, for example, to just learn more about life and themselves, or about their family, or there's a lot of divination that you can do when you're communicating with spirits. But a death witch is also somebody that goes around to graveyards and cleans up litter and stuff like that, and cleans headstones. And it's overall somebody with a really, really massive, it's more than just a respect for death and the dead. It's really, truly understanding and embracing the sacredness of death, the sacredness of the necessity of death. And it is a very dark path, not like in a scary, again, you're going to be in danger way. It's dark because that's what death is, and that's okay. That doesn't, notice that the word is not bad. It's not about good and bad. And if this does make you feel any better, most spirits or ghosts are not bad. They're just people. And most of them don't know they're dead. Someone who really, truly is stuck. It is a little. It can definitely be startling. It can definitely be foreign feeling. It can definitely feel very anxious.
I was more saying, like, not knowing you're dead is probably scary.
Oh, that terrifying. Yeah, that sounds horrible.
That I would prefer to know. To have no question.
Totally agree.
About my state of being.
Definitely would not want to be stuck. Yeah, no, that's why a lot of death witches will go to, you can go to places. I would really caution you to have some serious right and like permission to go to a place and do this, just so you know. I'm more talking about people that are invited to do this in a space, okay? Not necessarily, because it is still a sacred thing, okay? And people's space is their space. So you don't just go on Google and find, where was there like a lot of violent death that happened, so I can go there and see if I can help a bunch of people cross over. That's not really your responsibility. You know what I mean? That's not really your responsibility. And depending on a lot of things about that area, you might be doing a lot more harm than good by going there. Especially if, and I really need to say this, especially if you bring like white sage and you are not an indigenous person, and you bring a completely appropriated herb that is not meant for your use to go like cleanse an area that you weren't even asked to or welcomed, which, let's be honest, based on our history, is probably already on stolen land anyways, wherever you're going.
Yeah, if you're in the United States.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's why I was like, pretty much literally anywhere you go. Yep.
Yeah.
And you and you're not indigenous, and you bring white sage to go cleanse an area that you were not asked to, that is not a good idea for anybody, including yourself. You really need, death magic and spirit work requires a lot of respect, but it can still be really casual and fun. Like, talking to spirits does not mean that I like put on a cloak and lipstick and I'm like lighting all my candles and I'm like, yeah, here. Of course, and sometimes it is, and that's amazing. But a lot and most times it's like, like I just make my normal sounds and like, you know, like like when you bump into somebody. I don't know how else to describe it. Have you ever bumped into someone at the grocery store? Bump into a ghost. It's very like, whoop, whoop.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah, and it's that startle feeling. My husband's grandparents are the original owners of the house, and we purchased the home from them a few years ago. Bless
Excuse
you.
me. Thank you.
And A, being in Arvada on whatever creepy soil that this is, and B, a lot of families have come through here. So keep in mind that any building, whether it's a house, whether it's it could be a hospital, anywhere where like large volumes of people were coming and staying regularly, energy builds in that area no matter what. Matter what. So that's, sometimes it builds and manifests, and it depends on what energy is brought into the house. But if you have this family bringing a lot of love and care for each other, no one's perfect, but you know what I mean. They're bringing that to the table, their very best. That kind of protective energy will be built in the house. There might be houses that you have lived in from your childhood or something that you're like, I always felt safe there in a way I never felt safe anywhere else, even though I've been just as safe. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So when you build a lot of energy at a place, it'll manifest. It still goes for a family that brings a lot of shitty energy to a house. And this is actually how poltergeists form. Poltergeists are not human beings that passed over. They're manifested energy of like tension and resentment and anger and like unresolved problems that people, it's like that yucky energy that people keep bringing, and these are the types of energies that can attach to families and attach to places and attach to people. That's why it's not really like the Hollywood sense where you roll the dice and the house that you land on, it's much more connected to you. That's why you don't have to be so worried as much about going to different haunted houses. It's more about like, where are you haunted? Where's your family history? What was your childhood like? What connections and attachments have you had throughout your life of people that have passed over? You and I have talked a lot. I've had a lot of people die.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of people die. And so it made sense when I started studying all this. I have a lot of attachments to the other side of the veil.
Okay.
A lot of people that I formed a very, very personal bond with passed away. And that connection, that soul bond doesn't just end. And so that's not to say that if you haven't had very many people pass away that you can't have connections or form your own connection across the veil necessarily. That's really not to say that you have had to have a lot of people pass away in your life in order to have some kind of connection or to form a connection across the veil or to be a death witch or to do spirit work. It just means that it's another one of those things that as you get older, it makes sense if it's something that you had a natural like affinity or a connection to, if you did have a lot of death in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Definitely.
What do you think about all of this? How do you feel about all this? Have you ever heard of like death magic and all this stuff? Did you know I was a death witch?
I did not know you were a death witch. I think a death witch. A death witch.
In a way. Just kidding.
I did not know that. I don't know a lot of things. In general. As a general rule, I don't know a lot of things. I definitely don't know a lot about this. Recently, my mom's kind of got into that, like, your soul, her belief is, like, your soul picks your body, and so that's why kids, like, have a lot of these beliefs about past lives and all that kind of stuff. So she's kind of introduced me to some of it, but I don't know a lot about it. What I like about what you're saying, I mean, I like a lot of what you're saying, but just, like, that this stuff doesn't have to be good or bad. It just is. And we have a lot of, like, understandings that like death and the dead or whatever are these like out to like get us and haunt us and that sort of thing. And I like that what you're saying is like, no, that's not the case. They're just here.
Yeah. Existing.
Yeah.
The way that we exist in a totally different place. And not necessarily the way that we exist, right? But I mean, you see what I mean?
Yeah, and I think people probably would have a lot more of these stories if they were opened up to it, but we're kind of like, if you close that door, then you're just like, oh, I guess I had a nickel tucked in how many nickels did I have tucked in my underpants?
Yeah, exactly.
How is this happening? Yeah, you like figure out how to rationalize something. So once you're open to something, it's like confirmation bias.
Yes.
So if you're not open to that, then you wouldn't know. But if you're open to it, I'm sure that a lot more people would have these experiences.
Yes.
If that's what they were open to seeing.
That is a huge thing that I've noticed is, I had this talk with my husband a lot of times. The biggest skeptics or cynics, or if you're just going to close yourself off, you're never going to have an experience because you will find a way to rationalize it, no matter what.
Yeah, and that's life. Like, I talk about that a lot with my clients, is like, if you've already decided that something is off the table for you, then it will be.
Yes.
If you've decided this experience or this emotion or this thought or this whole thing is off the table,
yes,
it will be, for sure.
Yes.
But that's because you've decided that.
Right. If you're not going to believe in something, right, that's why I've never been in the business of wanting to, like, prove these things. I actually don't do cleansings for people and stuff. I've been asked to do, like, cleansings and stuff, and I teach people how to do them for themselves because I refuse to keep fueling this myth, almost, this reputation that these entities and energies have power over us. And this is the most important part of everything I'm going to say. That's why I'm saving it for the end here. This is the most important thing to remember. No matter what it is that you're working with or dealing with, you have the power to protect yourself from it, and you have the power to get rid of it. It's probably the first and most important, like, rule to remember after you become a witch, or if you're going to practice divination work, because, you know, any kind of divination is opening the door, right? It's opening some kind of door to somewhere to get information. You can do this in a multitude of ways, but it's kind of like plugging into the network almost. And to do that, you need to be protected properly. But if you go in there with a shadow of a doubt about it, do you see what that's the most important part, is knowing that you already have that power. So when you kind of become the neighborhood witch, this is literally why I named my company That Witch Next Door, because I've always just felt like the neighborhood witch. You get hit up for stuff, which is totally fine and very welcome, because I love all of this stuff. I find, however, that most people don't want to be the solution to their own problem.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They want me and think that I am the solution to the problem. And I find most people, pun intended, ghost me. I'm serious. They do, because I won't say I'm going to come do a cleansing or I'm going to do a long distance cleansing. I just tell them how to do it, and like herbs they could buy or different ways you can cleanse and websites they can go on, and they get mad. And I'm just like, I really personally, and I know several very experienced witches that would agree with me, I think the most powerful thing that you can do to protect yourself or cleanse yourself is you do it. I will always think that. I will never think somebody else's power has more influence in your life than your own. I will never, ever think that, no matter what kind of power we're talking about. I don't think I'll ever think that. I always have the most influence over my own life and experience, right? The same goes for spirit work and stuff. I mean, well, magic in general. You really do have to have that belief. If you don't have that belief and you have that fear, that deep fear, and every time you think about like, you're fascinated and you like researching and reading stories and stuff, but you're really, really scared to like call on a spirit to do a tarot reading, don't do it. That's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything that makes you feel scared, but I would encourage you to identify and define the difference between real fear and like anxiety of something foreign.
I was going to say then, like, you want to be cautious of like being afraid of certain feelings.
Yes.
Like, being scared is okay.
Exactly. It doesn't automatically mean you're in danger.
Like, there's a healthy amount of fear that goes with anything.
Yeah.
And like, if you can accept that, yes, part of this means that I'm going to be scared.
Exactly.
That's okay. And you don't want to go out of your threshold, I guess, whatever that threshold is for you, but like, it's okay to feel discomfort and scared.
Right. And that really trusting in that judgment, because you're going to know when something feels evil and wrong, That's your intuition. But that's different than feeling uncomfortable or feeling nervous about something or just feeling scared about something. That's what I mean. So, this was really fascinating. This is one of my favorite subjects in general to talk about. I'm excited to keep talking about it more and more on the show. I would love to answer any questions at all that this provoked in you. Anything that we talked about today. How'd you like Christy? Did you like her?
Be honest.
We want to have her back. Be honest.
Don't.
Just kidding. Don't hold back.
Don't blow
Just
smoke
kidding.
at my ass.
Hold back.
Okay?
I'm like, well, you hold back unless it's something very nice to say.
I can handle it.
Christy is amazing, and thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah,
Seriously.
thanks for having me. This
really
was very
appreciate
fun. I would love
It's
to come
been
back.
quite a ride.
Really?
I hope that you all enjoyed it. It was
I feel like the part 1 and part 2 could have been 2 different people.
totally, and that's a really great look into our relationship.
Yeah, actually, that's good. Yeah, there was a part 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Part 1 was giggly, but
Exactly.
remember you said we could also have very deep conversations. I don't know if you actually said that in this podcast or if you and I were talking about that it can be total.
I said it at some point. I remember
giggles
saying it. Yeah.
Until it's not.
And we're serious too sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you heard us say that at the beginning of the episode, great. And if not, we're saying it now. We have the ability to do both. Christy's definitely going to come on again. She is I don't think I ever mentioned this, and I'm really sorry. She's a wonderfully skilled and amazingly talented. Talented, is that the right word? Knowledgeable therapist.
I was like, what is the descriptive word? Yeah, I am a therapist.
I am.
I do that. I have the loans to prove it.
She is. And I want to have her back on a couple of times to really dig into some of the different things that we talk about around here, because I think that we both have very unique, different perspective and very open mind with each other.
Yeah, I think so too. I'll be back, hopefully.
She'll be back. I'll be back. Listen, we're 90s kids, and we have to do Arnold Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
Sorry,
and
Governor.
on that note,
Are you a real governor? He's not the governor.
he's not.
He is not. Sorry,
Hasn't been
old
for a
governor.
Old governor.
Not the right kind of governor. All right, everybody, this was amazing. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me and Christy. And as always, I hope that you have the best magical weekend. Really get into Halloween. I am going to be celebrating my birthday and talking with ghosties and doing pumpkin stuff. I'm so excited. Don't forget this weekend, if you want to book the offer with me and Kate, our Align and Attract pop-up offer, you can get over $200 off of that offer. Yeah, if you book this weekend, either today, the 29th, tomorrow, the 30th, or Sunday, the 31st. We are limiting this to a very, very, very small amount of people because it's only going to be like a 2-week offer, okay? You don't want to miss it. Let me know if you have any questions. We love you.
So much.
Stay magical out there.
Ooh.